Welcome to Humans of Business, the podcast where we uncover the human side of successful businesses. Here, we speak with business leaders about the human traits that fuel success and how embracing who we are can shape the way we do business. Every business starts with a human, so let's learn from real humans, one story at a time. My name is Yuri. I help people and brands shine through communities and personal connections. And my guest is Zsike Peter, the founder of Vampire Digital, a boutique content marketing agency who helps VIP clients such as global SaaS founders, Ivy League researchers, and even reality TV winners be heard, seen, and known while making their online presence immortal to attract high-value clients. And the creator of Thinkbait, a rebellion against clickbait and AI-generated noise. So, welcome, Zsike.
Hey, Yuri, really nice to see you again. Thanks for asking me to come back.
Every conversation uncovers something new and I can't get enough. So I need to ask you about even more and more and more things. And just for those people who have no idea what I'm talking about, we already have Freelance Hacks and Freelance Thrive conversations. We had Freelance Unlocked pre-interview where Zsike already shared a ton of amazing, great conversations and knowledge and experience. And now we'll talk about human side of you. So the first question, tell me one thing about you that I can't find on your LinkedIn profile.
Oh.
It's hard.
Well, specifically on my profile, I may have mentioned in my post a long time ago, but I suppose, yes, there are a few things that surprise people. One, I'm a knitting geek. So I love knitting. As soon as the winter months come, I get my stash of yarns out, my knitting needles, and I start knitting mostly scarves because I find it's a kind of yoga for the brain. You can do it almost mindlessly, but it's very meditative because it's repetitive. If you're following the same pattern. The other, I used to play chess competitively.
Okay.
And in Hungary, and it's got to the point where I was playing at national level and beat all the boys. I was the only girl in the finals. So 2 years in a row, I was Hungary's student chess champion, which some people might find it funny or, I don't know, interesting if it is.
Oh, wow.
Call me a geek, basically. That's what I am.
I feel like you have to hold so many information in your head to really go through chess stuff. And I'm curious, are you still playing?
So I wish I had more time, but recently I haven't played that much. But my daughter has started playing chess in her school, in addition to all her studies, because she likes it. So I am getting back into it more now, because she's getting to the point where she's going to start beating me, and which is great. But I need to keep up with her. She's 8 years old. So yeah, chess is great in so many ways. It's proven to rewire your brain differently, just like any other strategy game, or just like learning languages, speaking other languages, or learning to dance. A specific routine will do the same to your brain. So, but I also find it really useful in terms of you start making those automatic connections, and you can apply that in life, in making decisions, and you can kind of, even in conversations, and this might sound almost manipulative, but I don't want to. I want to make sure that this comes across clearly. If you want a conversations to have a certain outcome which benefits both of you, then you can word your sentences in a way that that your partner will respond positively, and you'll have a nice outcome of that conversation. So chess can be applied in many situations.
There are so many books around that, how to make people tell what you want to hear. But I mean, once again, I'm currently going through the book Getting Past No. And there is the idea behind the book that it's all about collaborations and winning at the end. Because if you are that's exactly the difference, I believe, between having a conversation or negotiations and manipulating. Manipulating is when you are trying someone to do something you want without caring about themselves. And the difference is that, from my perspective, that when you have this mutual goal, the mutual, let's say win-win. I don't know. I feel like it's so cliche,
Mutually
but
beneficial
win-win.
outcome.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it's totally different. I'm curious, how do you approach when you are working with clients? How do you ensure to go to this like win-win? I mean, like from human side, like how does it work for you?
Absolutely. I think the first most important part is, being honest about whether you can help them. And the way you can determine that is you ask questions, you make that initial conversation about them, right? You find out what their pain points are. And if your services or your products are the true solution, then that there is no manipulation. Then this is the right fit. You can genuinely help them, and you are the person. Then all you need to do is you need to make sure that you validate yourself. You make sure that the potential client knows why you are the right person to solve that problem and not your competitors. That's all you need to convince them at the end. And that convincing becomes much easier if you already have great examples. So, use examples that are very similar to what this client is struggling with, and mention, well, I've done exactly the same for such and such client, and this is the results we got for them. So yeah, transparency, honesty. And I do refuse to work with some people where it feels like it's not the right fit for whatever reason. It could be that we are just not quite there yet, or they would be better off working with one of my competitors. So I have a list of I like to call them collaborators, actually, not competitors, who might be a better fit for whatever reason. It might be a mismatch of values, or we just don't quite do the, work with the people in their industry for whatever reason. But yeah, that's the human side, is that if you're transparent from the start, it's just much easier. Because I think if you manipulate the situation, that will come through at some point. Even if they sign up on the spot there and then, eventually that will become apparent.
I feel like it's a very, very mean thing to do, to have a list of competitors, collaborators, and send to them shitty clients. Like, and they're like, oh yeah, I think that yeah, I'm not the best person for you, but this person can really work with you. And then like, yeah, by the way, I sent you client. Yeah, so
Yeah, I wouldn't advise that. But yeah, in fact, I would warn my nice competitors. I would warn them that you might not want to work
yeah,
with this
yeah.
particular kind. Not everyone, and not every service provider is a great service provider or agency to work with. We have clients coming to us who, and this is a recent one in the States, who 2 years ago contacted me, decided to go with a local service provider. And they said, we wasted nearly 2 years of money and really beige, bland, almost AI sounding copy, and is not gotten us any results. Can we talk again? So yes, it happens where they'll decide to go with somebody else anyway. But all you can do is be transparent, and then hope that the right people will find you. And over time, you kind of get the sense who's the right person, right from the
Yeah.
the initial conversation. You can tell, and you can just say, I don't have capacity. I don't even have to tell them that I don't want to work with them.
I really love that you call people from your niche collaborators, because I also truly believe that, um, like for me personally, there are no competitors. We can do, we can expand the pie instead of like thinking that there is not enough pie for everyone. And every time if someone is doing something better than me, I'm like, okay, I will learn from them. It means that I'm not doing something good. So I really love your approach. And still, I have many, many conversations with people who are having a lot of competitors who are really afraid of, and it really blocks them from building these relationships in the niche. Because once again, even if you are like with collaborators, as you've said, you might not have capacity, but they might have, and you can refer clients to them. So basically you are removing one more source of clients for yourself by doing that. And I'm curious, how do you build trust with collaborators?
So it's about relationship building, even without any expectations, immediate expectations. And I think this is a mistake many freelancers and business owners make, is that they network with an outcome in their mind, with an immediate outcome. And I think if you have that approach, people can sense it. People can sense that you straight away want something from them, and that turns them off, even if they are not consciously realizing. Sort of energetically, subconsciously, they can sense.
Yeah.
So my advice would be is that yes, to build that trust, you need to actually make the person feel important as a person, not somebody who you might be able to get something out of, a client or money
Yeah.
or opportunities, just genuinely build relationships with people that you like, and whether that's your competitors, collaborators, or potential clients, it's the same, because ultimately people will refer clients to you because they like you. And when it comes to clients choosing you, 9 times out of 10, if they're looking at you, and they will also be shopping around looking at your competitors, quite often the decision is not down to money, and it's not even down to you being the best expert. It's because they like you. They like you more than your competitors as a human being, and therefore they want to work with you.
And how do you make people kind of like you and feel heard? Like, do you have some, I don't know, let's call it secret sauce or personal approach on building these relationships?
I mean, I wouldn't call it secret or very novel, because this isn't being written by many experts like Robert Cialdini, The Art of
Yeah.
Persuasion and so on, is to ask more questions, talk less, and ask more questions. Because if you make that person feel important and heard, they will automatically gravitate towards you, and they will automatically associate all the positive feelings with you because you made them feel special. So that it really is that simple. But humans by nature, we are selfish beings.
Yeah.
We like to make everything about ourselves. We're always calculating what's in it for me. And if you can override that kind of primitive monkey brain, to the ego, then that's when you start winning, because you kind of suppress that selfish ego and make the other person feel important, and they will just like you so much more than everybody else who's making it all about themselves.
And it also feels like it's all about this genuine curiosity when you are really interested, because you can ask any questions, and when you're asking a question and person is telling, and then yeah, okay, the next question, and, and it
Yeah.
totally doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a lot of people don't listen to understand. They are listening whilst they're thinking, this is how I'm going to respond to what this person just said. So that means
Crazy.
you're not really paying attention to what the person, you've asked them a question, but you're already thinking the next question or what you're going to respond with. So they're listening to respond, not listening to understand.
It also reminded me adding AI generated comments under LinkedIn posts, because sometimes I see that and there is a post and then AI generated post that kind of summarize everything what you've said and asking a question and I was like, I've just literally wrote that. Like, what
Exactly.
the question are you asking me?
Yeah, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
adding anything new. Yeah, so yeah, and those people can sound exactly the same way, robotic, and just that means just they're just surface skimming the information you've just asked for, and not truly paying attention.
Tell me a little about the business that you are building at the moment.
So the new business,
Every business.
every business, yeah, which
Which
business
business? Which what to
we're talking
choose?
about,
Yeah.
which one to choose? Thinkbait, or obviously Thinkbait is brewing away. Around Thinkbait, I would like to possibly build a course, an online course, a consultancy service, because I think a lot of the younger marketers and younger marketing agencies and writers need to reconnect with the art of creating.
Mm.
And it's just so much more than sitting down in front of the laptop and just Googling something or asking ChatGPT. So yes, I think I would like to possibly create some sort of think-based certification program at some point to teach creators and anyone who wants to reclaim the art of writing, to teach them to think bait way of writing. And there is a whole framework around it I developed that is, pretty simple but fundamental. And it will be really helpful for people who are struggling, and it's not about writing long form essays or things like that, but it's just reclaiming your creative agency, because you can do that without ChatGPT, surprisingly.
Yeah, I know. I saw this joke. It was one of the moments when ChatGPT was down, and there were comments. Oh my God, I'm quitting my job.
Yeah, because I
Oh,
can't
you
do it
never
without
know.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the book that you are writing.
So Thinkbait is a framework. It's basically the subtitle of Thinkbait is the ultimate guide to reclaim the human creativity in the age of AI.
Mm.
So I feel it's a very urgent topic, and I don't know how this will look like. How relevant the book will be even in 2 to 3 years' time, because AI, large language models, are changing the way we are creating in almost every facets of the way we are creating. So, but for now, right now, I feel like it's an urgent topic. So, ThinkBait specifically is a part guide with frameworks, with actionable advice, with real examples, and how we can write without AI. But there is also a chapter about ethical AI use, because you need to still be aware of the tools. It can speed up the research part of your work if you're, working with clients in certain industries that you're unfamiliar with. As long as you know how to ask the right questions, there are ways where you can ask AI, or use AI tools to speed up those processes. But the actual creative act of writing and the ideation, so coming up with ideas as well, I feel that should still sit with the human, because we are going to lose the art of that if we keep prompting ChatGPT to do all those, the little, the heavy lifting of the mind's work. We are going to be losing serious cognitive skills. And this is already happening. This is already has been researched by people much smarter than I am. I've interviewed some of those people for ThinkBait. There's a whole chapter of expert interviews. And I've also done a lot of my homework, a lot of research, which are specifically linked to my worries. And it's not just me talking about this now. So, and I didn't want the book to be just my opinion. I've interviewed people who sit somewhere on the fence, or on the scale of, yes, AI is great, but we need to think about these things, ethics, even legal representation of AI. So one of the guys, Dr. Siamak, who is a legal, so he's a lawyer, and he's creating a praxis where he is planning to represent AI. So AI's rights, for example.
Yeah.
He's given me some really interesting answers to my questions. So yeah, that chapter is particularly interesting. But yeah, it's in a way, it's kind of shown me, this process of doing the research and writing the book has shown me that I'm not alone in my worries, in the way that I feel like that some breaks should be applied when it comes to AI. And AI has many great use cases. So I talk about that in the book as well, health tech, med tech, education. It saves lives, it changes lives.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm all for that kind of progress. But it's about how much control we allow AI to take over from the human creative process. That's where my worries are. And those worries have been somewhat echoed by the experts I've interviewed. And I've interviewed experts from various backgrounds. So it's not one-sided.
I'm already there. So when there is a book out there, just send me a link. I'll be one of the first people to have it.
Yeah.
And I also feel like when you are writing a book, you definitely make some mistakes, and most likely a lot of mistakes, and you have to go them and redo them and ask again and rethink. And I feel like it's almost never-ending process. And I wonder, how do you feel about making mistakes?
I personally, I'm a perfectionist, and I hate admitting even, but I have, I am older and somewhat wiser these days. So I'd be like, okay, yes, that's on me, and it pains to say it, and because it feels like, oh, I've not done a good enough job. And I will read back some of the sentences or paragraphs, pages that I've written, and think, oh my God, I wrote this. That's amazing. And some parts I'm like, oh, what was I thinking writing that? And I want to rewrite it over and over again. But it's with the editor now. It's with the first 500 copies will be printed soon. So maybe I'll do a second edition or a follow-up book at some point to refine some of my thinking there, and I feel like this is a topic that will keep changing rapidly, that the book will need updating at some point. So watch this space. Because the contract I've signed with the publisher, it does say that if I do produce a second book for Thinkbait, I have to go with them, which is a good sign. That means maybe they trust me.
Yeah, or they just want to get all of your money. You never know unless you try it.
Oh, I'm winning with this one too. So they're quite
Yeah.
nice. They're nice publishers. Yeah.
You're quite human person, I would say, and kind of a celebrity on LinkedIn because every
Sure.
post gets a ton of comments and conversations and a lot of traction. And how do you deal with what people will think about me part?
Yes, that's quite a deep question. And it used to bother me a lot. And it's natural because you see all the positive comments, all the support, and then there will be, you could have 200 comments, only one of them be negative, and that negative one will really bother me for days. But the way I deal with it now is, first of all, I immediately block the person. So not people who have a polite debate. I'm up for a discussion. I don't have to. And in fact, if somebody manages to change my mind, I really admire that person because I am the most stubborn person you can come along. But I do welcome a challenge in terms of, if somebody challenges my way of thinking, then I need to feel open to that conversation. And in fact, I think that's a sign of being self-aware, is that if your opinions never change over the years and your viewpoint never changes over the years, the problem might be with you, because that means you're too binary, you're too one-track minded and not open. Like science evolves all the time, for example. You can't have the same opinion about something that has research behind it, and then a new piece of research comes up proving the opposite of what you believe in. You have to be open to that. And I think it's the same in online conversations and how people, that if they challenge your thinking and your opinion, you have to stop and think, okay, maybe they do have a point, and I should have a conversation with them at the very least, or look into what they are saying, right? But if it's a direct attack without any reason behind it, they're just criticizing you, then that kind of negativity can really get to me, and then I just block that person. I just block and try and move on. I might do a post about, not mentioning names, but I might do a post and just have my side of the things, but less and less these days. You just have to move on and not spend your time and energy on something that's not beneficial for you and for your mental well-being.
It's interesting that you mentioned about different researches and different points of view, because it reminded me when I was like, there were articles that potatoes are good for your health, and then like next year potatoes are bad for your health, and then like in 5 years potatoes are the best for your health, and it's always like all this opposite direction. And it feels like nowadays everything that you want to trust, you will find some sources that will help you to trust, no matter like if you like coffee, you will find resources that will tell you that coffee is the best for your life. If you don't like coffee, you will find resources that coffee is killing you. So it's basically it's never, and I feel like to really navigate through all this noise and in in real life, it's much about gut feeling, kind of like understanding what's best for you. So I'm curious, how do you understand what's best for you?
I always try and find the source of that information because, if we're talking about specifically, if it's about a research on a certain topic, sometimes that research is funded by a company who has vested interest. So it could be that the coffee manufacturers are
Yeah.
are paying some smart writers and they've done their one-sided biased research to prove that coffee is really good for you. So I think one is find the source of the information, follow the money, and then you'll find the answers. And then it's easier to make an informed decision. But yes, there will be that gut feeling, that's your initial first brain, really, your gut. and and I think a lot of it is your values can change over time as well. And a lot of your decisions that you make are based on your values and your gut feeling, like you said. It's difficult to, and in terms of, if we're talking about, business decisions or life decisions, I think over time, the sum of all the decisions that you make, it's a bit like chess. Your brain, without you consciously thinking about it, makes those connections, calculates the next best possible move, right? When you move that piece on the chessboard, you will think, well, if I do this move, or I have 6 different options here with this one particular piece on the chessboard, this is what's going to follow. If I move this piece over there, the possible scenarios your brain computes, right, with the chess pieces. This is what my opponent could potentially do. What's their best next possible move? If you can, so in chess terms, if you can think I can't talk, 6 steps ahead. That's a tongue twister. Then you're considered to be you're a grandmaster level. I'm nowhere
Yeah.
near that. I think sometimes they're like 2 to 3 steps ahead. I can think, then that's quite useful. And I think that you become you're a great predictor over time. If you've already made those decisions or similar decisions, your brain can compute it quickly, and that's what we call this gut instinct. It's actually your inner computational power as well, helping you there. But in new situations, that's different because you're in fight or flight mode, and
Yeah.
and then if you don't have the experience in that situation, then then you're definitely more on the gut feeling, on instinct, right?
No, that's something that I hear a lot, and I always deal with this all the time, is overthinking. Like,
Yeah.
what should I do? Or did I made a right move? Or maybe I should have done something better or whatever. So I'm curious, do you trust yourself?
I mean, I overthink massively. I do. I get what you're saying. But then in some situations, I just I second guess myself, but I also feel like, there's no time to, I can't waste time here. I have to make a decision. And actually, you just have to accept the fact that you might make the wrong decision, and you might as well make it now so that you can course correct, then delay the decision to the point where you make things worse, basically. So that's, you just have to, I guess you do have to trust yourself, right? I mean,
Yeah.
who else is best to make the decisions for you than yourself? You might as well take control of the situation and be prepared for the consequences that might come with your decisions, as long as you accept that, okay, at the time, with the information I had available, this was the best decision I was able to make.
Yeah. Or sometimes you can just toss the coin and then blame the coin. Oh,
Yeah,
whatever.
true. Yeah, yeah. Not my responsibility. It was the
Yeah,
coin.
it
Yeah,
was the coin.
yeah.
How do you define success beyond financial metrics?
I think it's the close, healthy relationships around you, your friendship, your family. That's such a big factor in for your mental health and even for your physical well-being. As you know, we know this is having that close few friends who, first thing in the morning, having someone you can text first thing in the morning, like, or send a silly meme. You're like, hey, good morning. This made me think of you. You know, silly friend, when are we going out to have a laugh? Having some important people in your life I would say, is more important than financial success. It's much easier to stay motivated and go after that financial success, whatever that means for you, if you have healthy relationships, people surrounding you, and maintaining those relationships. If you look at some of the older population who have lost friendships and who are lonely, it massively affects their life expectancy.
Yeah.
So that's my definition of success. Ultimately, is just having those happy friendships, relationships, family.
And what makes you happy?
Sleep.
Yeah, of course.
I don't get much of lately. Sleep, definitely, and books. There might be a few hints around me for that. Books make me very happy. I could very easily, socialize for my friends for a weekend and then lock myself in this room for 2 months and not see anyone and just be with my books.
Yeah, fair enough. You have enough books. Yeah, I can see that.
So, but obviously I can't just lock myself in here because I have 2 young children to look after. So they obviously make me happy, but that would be the cliche everyone says.
Cheesy. Yeah.
I think also having a purpose. So I think having a purpose beyond your family, so that's something that is yours, so you don't lose yourself in your relationships, as important as they are. You need an inner drive for something that fulfills you, and I go through stages. I get fixated on things, whether that's fitness or veganism or my books or my writing or my work, building a business. I go through cycles of fixating, and then I'm just all single-minded to the point where something will wake me up at 3 a.m. and I have to get up and work on it. If for some new idea, I feel like I need to write this down. And then I read it in the morning, think, oh my God, who is this person writing this stuff? It's rubbish. But sometimes it works out.
You never know. You have to try. At least you have to try, and then. Zsike, I wish to have the sky as a limit, but time is a limit. So the final question: what's one thing that you are really good at that no one knows you are really good at?
Oh. That's so tricky. Because I feel like I mentioned knitting. I'm pretty good at knitting.
Yeah.
But I already said that. No one knows. Oh, gosh. You really asked me to put me on the spot with this one. Because, for somebody to say I'm really good at this thing and nobody knows, I suppose. Dancing? I'm a really good dancer, actually, yeah. And it's not something I put on LinkedIn. There were some posts when I went out with Scarlett from LinkedIn. I don't know if you follow her. Yeah, dancing, I would say, but really, really good. I mean, that's quite subjective because there will be some ballroom dancer who will say, no, you're not. You're not very good at it.
Yeah, I know. You can always find someone who's better. I mean, like, it's all about personal feeling and like something that you enjoy to do and all this stuff. Okay.
Yes.
Dancing counts.
Dancing counts. Maybe I could add climbing, but I'm not like really, really good, but I like rock climbing a bit. So, but dancing definitely, like anytime. If somebody said, right, tonight we're going out dancing, I am in. I'm going.
I can imagine rock climbing dancing when you are climbing rock and you're also dancing and like moving your body around. And
I think you've come up with a new genre there.
Yeah, but it's always you can be the best in something that you're coming up with. So why not?
Yeah, exactly. And you can create a whole new sport there for sure.
By the way, talking about the sport, you reminded me there is I saw it somewhere, an episode of unusual hobbies, and one of the hobby where I don't really know how it's called in English, when you have your clothes and you need to ironing, like and they do extreme ironing. So basically they do ironing in the river, or they do ironing while mountain climbing, or they drive a car and then iron Like, so it's a whole community around that. So
That's
yeah,
insane.
why not?
The
Why
things
not?
people come up with to entertain themselves, honestly. And also, some of these sound dangerous. Ironing in the river, water
Yeah.
and electricity.
I mean, like most likely they are not using like real,
Yeah.
but at least they have an iron.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're ironing. So yeah.
Oh, that's mad, but funny. Yeah.
And what is the best way to connect with you?
I live my life on LinkedIn, so that will be the best way to connect with me. I won't even direct people to my website, which I need to work on. So yeah, LinkedIn definitely, and then through LinkedIn, people can sign up to my email list. I'm reviving my email list because since I've been writing Thinkbait, that's gone kind of on the, I haven't kept on top of my email newsletter, but when I do write them, they are a little bit extra juicy. That are, more in depth than my LinkedIn posts. So hopefully people enjoy reading them. I'd like to get that growing.
And last but not least, name 2 people I should have this podcast conversation with.
So one I mentioned, I think he would do really well, and Jonathan Lloyd, who I had a chat with him last week on Zoom. Trying to think the other one. The other one I think might be one of my clients that you should have this conversation with. He's very deep in with human behavior, and in fact he works with young people, students, to help them overcome their blocks where they learn how to learn better in school. So these are children who are really struggling, and suddenly their performance shoots right up.
Wow.
So his name is Dr. Tesh Samani, and he makes a real difference in many schools, even in disadvantaged areas where you'd be scared to walk in. So I think he would be a great one for you to interview.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll definitely ask you to connect us later. And Zsike, as I've told you, I feel like it's already our 4th podcast conversation. And you are still getting ready for Community RI later on. So every time I talk to you, I learn something new. I feel like I'm talking to kindred spirit, a person who is thinking in a pretty much interesting and exciting way, and you are always uncovering something that generates more and more ideas in my head and helps me to, I don't know, just vent it out in a nice human way. And even today I learned so much more about you, and not about skeletons in your closet, but about scarves in your closet. So thank you very much for having this conversation.
Oh, I really enjoyed it, and likewise, I think we bounce off of each other well, because you are that open thinker who asks unusual questions, I have to say. So yes, you are a natural at this. So thank you for a really stimulating conversation.
Thank you very much. And see you in the business world. And thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions about how the community can help you reach and overcome your business goals faster, let's connect on LinkedIn and talk about it. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.